Something strange happened in Hudson and Rex Season 8, Episode 5, Fortitude Newfoundland. It wasn't just another mystery in the streets of St. John's. There was something different this time. A quiet tension that felt more real, almost as if the story wasn't just fiction. The episode left viewers asking one haunting question. Was this case inspired by something that truly happened in Newfoundland's past? The episode opens with the sound of the ocean, cold, steady, and endless. St. John's looks peaceful, wrapped in the soft gray of early morning fog. But this calm doesn't last long. Beneath the quiet, something heavy is brewing. Detective Charlie Hudson seems more serious than usual, his eyes tracing the coastline as if searching for something lost. Rex walks beside him, alert and uneasy, sensing trouble before it begins. As the story begins to unfold, a call comes through to the station. A body has been found near an old fishing port outside the city. It's a place locals avoid, not because of danger, but because of what it represents. Memories of struggle, loss, and the kind of isolation that seeps into the soul. Hudson and Rex head out, the car moving through narrow roads lined with wind-worn houses and the remains of lives once built on the sea. There's beauty there, but also loneliness. The kind that tells you this isn't just another case, it's a story tied to the land itself. When Hudson reaches the scene, he doesn't rush. He stands still, listening to the waves hitting the rocks, studying every detail before stepping closer. The victim is a man in his late 50s, dressed simply, like someone who belonged here. No signs of a struggle, no sign of robbery, just silence. The only witness is the sea. The locals gather at a distance, whispering, their faces showing more sadness than fear. They seem to know something, but no one speaks. That silence feels louder than any scream. Rex moves closer to the body, sniffing carefully, then looks up at Hudson. There's something off. The dog senses it first. Hudson kneels, examining a strange symbol carved faintly into the dock beside the body. It looks handmade, almost like an old fishing mark, but deeper, deliberate. He takes a photo, his brow furrowed. This isn't random. It's a message. As the investigation begins, the camera lingers on Newfoundland's landscape, cliffs, fog, and quiet waters that hide more than they reveal. The island feels alive, watching, remembering. And that's when the episode begins to shift. This isn't just about solving a crime, it's about uncovering something buried long ago. Something the town wants to forget. Rex, ever the loyal partner, leads Hudson down a narrow path near the port where an old boathouse stands half sunken. Inside, they find faded photographs and letters tucked behind wooden beams. They tell pieces of a story, a local fishermen's group that vanished years ago after a mysterious storm. Some say it was an accident. Others whisper it was something darker. Hudson looks at one of the photos. The man from the dock is in it, smiling, younger, surrounded by other fishermen. The caption on the back says one word, Fortitude. That word becomes the center of everything, not just the episode's title, but the truth that binds it together. And as the first section closes, Hudson looks out at the ocean again, realizing this case isn't about murder alone. It's about memory, loyalty, and how even the strongest communities hide cracks beneath their strength. The sea may have taken their past, but it hasn't washed away their secrets. By the time the investigation moves into its second day, the mist over St. John's has grown thicker. The air feels heavier, as if the island itself is holding its breath. Detective Hudson can't shake the feeling that this case isn't just about one man's death. Every path he takes leads back to that word, fortitude. It appears in old fishing records, carved into dock walls, and whispered by the few locals willing to speak. But when he asks what it means, the answers all change. Some call it a ship, others a group, and a few pretend they've never heard the name at all. Hudson sits in the station, going through files, notes, and faded photographs. Every document tells a piece of a story that doesn't quite fit together. The Fortitude was once the pride of Newfoundland, a fishing vessel that vanished without a trace nearly 20 years ago during a brutal winter storm. 5 men were aboard, and none were ever found. The case was closed quietly, marked as a tragic accident. But now, one of those missing men has turned up dead, aged, alive until recently. That's impossible. Or at least it should be. Rex paces near the desk, restless. He nudges a piece of paper that's fallen to the floor, a weather report from the night the Fortitude disappeared. Hudson picks it up, scanning the data. The storm that night wasn't natural. It came out of nowhere, like a wall of wind and water that swallowed the coast. Locals still talk about it like a curse. He circles a name written in the report's margin, Carter D. The same name signed on one of the letters found in the old boathouse. Hudson decides to visit the only person left who might remember, May Carter. the daughter of the Fortitude's captain. She runs a small diner near the harbor, serving fishermen and travelers who pass through. When Hudson enters, the bell above the door rings softly. May looks up, her eyes tired but sharp. She recognizes his face, not as a detective, but as someone about to reopen wounds that never healed. At first, she refuses to talk. She wipes the counter, avoiding eye contact, saying the same thing everyone else does, let the sea keep what it took. But Hudson's persistence breaks through. He shows her the photo from the boathouse, her father among the men, laughing, strong. Her hands tremble slightly as she touches the picture. Finally, she speaks. The Fortitude didn't sink by accident, she says. They were out there looking for something they shouldn't have been. Her words cut through the quiet like a blade. She explains that her father and the crew weren't just fishermen. They were part of a small circle trying to recover old war relics, rumored to be buried off the coast, left behind during the Second World War when Newfoundland was still its own dominion. Some believed those relics were harmless, others said they were dangerous. Experimental materials, never meant to be found. Whatever they discovered that night, it cost them everything. Hudson listens, each piece of her story fitting into the puzzle like a whisper from the past. He asks why one of them, the man from the dock, came back after so many years. May looks out the window, her voice barely above a whisper. Because he couldn't live with what they did. Fortitude wasn't just a ship, detective, it was a promise to keep a secret that should have stayed buried. The words linger. Hudson leaves the diner with more questions than answers, the fog swallowing him as he steps outside. Rex barks once, breaking the stillness, his ears pointed toward the docks. Something's out there. Hudson follows his lead, the two of them moving through the empty streets until they reach the old pier again. In the moonlight, something glints on the wooden boards, a small metal badge, old and corroded. Hudson picks it up, brushing off the dirt. It bears an emblem shaped like an anchor entwined with a serpent, and beneath it, the word Fortitude. It's not an official maritime symbol, it's something else. Something personal. That night, back in his office, Hudson pins the badge next to the photo on his board. The pattern is starting to form. Every clue points to a pact made decades ago, one that began at sea and ended in silence. The victim wasn't killed by a stranger, he was silenced by someone who still fears what lies beneath those waves. Outside, the fog rolls in thicker than before, wrapping the harbor in a ghostly white. Rex growls softly, staring toward the dark outline of the ocean. Hudson follows his gaze, his expression hardening. Somewhere out there, the truth waits, cold, patient, and unwilling to stay hidden forever. In that moment, Hudson knows this case isn't about justice anymore. It's about breaking a curse that's haunted Newfoundland for a generation. The word Fortitude no longer feels like strength, it feels like a warning. The next morning arrives without sunlight. The fog that had wrapped around St. John's all night refuses to lift. It hangs over the harbor like a shroud, swallowing the edges of buildings and dulling every sound. Detective Hudson steps out of his car, the chill biting through his jacket. Rex trots beside him, ears pricked, nose twitching at the damp air. It feels like the whole town is holding something back. Something it doesn't want him to see. Hudson starts his day at the docks again, hoping the salt air might clear his thoughts. Every clue he's found so far feels heavy with unfinished stories. The badge, the word Fortitude, the man who came back after vanishing for 20 years. None of it fits the simple idea of a fishing accident. As he looks out toward the gray sea, he can't shake the feeling that the answers are still out there, somewhere under those cold, endless waves. Inside the police station, the mood is tense. Superintendent Donovan watches Hudson pace across the room, his coffee untouched. "You're chasing ghosts, Charlie," Donovan says finally. "That ship went down decades ago. The man on that dock just died, maybe from guilt, maybe from old age. Don't dig too deep. People here remember that night. They want it left alone." Hudson doesn't respond at first. He just stares at the caseboard, covered in photographs, maps, and scribbled notes. "That's the problem," he says quietly. "Everybody wants it left alone. That's how secrets survive." Later that afternoon, Hudson drives out to the small coastal village where the Fortitude was last seen. The roads twist along steep cliffs, and the sea below looks like dark glass. The village is almost deserted, a few houses, a weather-beaten chapel, and an abandoned fish plant that still smells faintly of salt and diesel. Rex sniffs the ground, leading Hudson toward the plant's side entrance. The door creaks open with a slow groan, echoing through the empty halls. Inside, time has stopped. Rusted hooks hang from the ceiling, nets draped over broken crates. On the wall, Hudson notices faded newspaper clippings pinned in a crooked line. He brushes off the dust and reads, "5 fishermen lost at sea. The Fortitude vanishes in the storm." Another headline below it, "Recovery halted after dangerous currents found near site." The words dangerous currents are underlined in red, but it's not the handwriting of a journalist, it's someone else's. Someone who wanted to draw attention to that phrase. Rex suddenly growls, low and sharp. Hudson turns just as a shadow moves at the far end of the room. "RCMP, he calls out, "show yourself." No answer. Only the sound of footsteps retreating down a corridor. Hudson follows quickly, his flashlight cutting through the dim light. The figure slips through a back door and disappears into the fog outside. Hudson gives chase, but the mist swallows everything. By the time he reaches the shore, there's no one there, only the echo of waves and the faint imprint of boots in the mud. But something catches his eye. A single red glove half buried near a rock. He picks it up, recognizing the same pattern stitched on the inside as the one seen in the photo from the boathouse. Whoever that person was, they're connected to Fortitude. Maybe one of the original crew, maybe someone still protecting their secret. Hudson returns to town, his mind racing. He goes back to May Carter's diner, but it's closed. A back and 10 inches sign swings in the wind, though the windows are dark. He peers through the glass. Nothing. The bell above the door doesn't ring this time, only silence. That night, sitting alone in his apartment, Hudson replays the day in his mind. He lays out every clue on the table, from the badge to the glove. He draws a map of Newfoundland's coastline, marking every point mentioned in the reports. Then he notices something odd. Every mark forms a line pointing to a stretch of ocean known to fishermen as the Drop. It's a deep underwater trench where sonar often fails and compasses go haywire. It's also where the Fortitude was last seen before it vanished. Hudson's heart beats faster. If the ship didn't sink in the storm, maybe it was pulled down or hidden. Maybe someone made sure it was never found. He stares out his window at the dark ocean beyond, realizing the truth might still be out there. Waiting under the waves, Rex lets out a quiet bark, drawing Hudson's attention. The dog stands near the door, tail stiff, ears high. Someone's outside. Hudson reaches for his flashlight and opens the door. But there's no one in sight, only a small package on the ground wrapped in brown paper. No name, no address. He takes it inside, unfolds the paper carefully. Inside is a weathered piece of driftwood with the word "enough" carved into it. The message is clear. "Stop digging." Hudson exhales slowly, his jaw tightening. "Looks like we're getting close, partner," he murmurs. Rex nudges his hand, as if agreeing. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance, faint but growing. The storm that took Fortitude is coming back, and this time, it's bringing the truth with it. The storm rolled in before dawn. The kind that feels ancient, like it remembers everything the island wants to forget. Wind tore across the harbor, rattling the windows of St. John's. And rain slammed against the roofs like the sea itself was angry. Detective Hudson stood at the edge of the pier, soaked to the bone, eyes fixed on the horizon. He wasn't supposed to be there. Donovan had ordered the case closed hours ago. The official report was done, the paperwork clean, the truth buried again. But Hudson wasn't done. He never was. He'd spent the night piecing together the last fragments of the puzzle. The badge, the glove, the newspaper clippings. Every clue pointed to one place. The Drop. The deep trench where the Fortitude vanished 2 decades ago. Hudson had seen the sonar data. The ship wasn't destroyed. It was resting there, intact, deliberately sunk. And someone had been diving down there in secret. He couldn't prove it yet, but his instincts screamed it was true. Rex barked sharply, his coat glistening with rain. The dog paced near a set of old crates stacked by the water. Hudson followed, pulling one aside, and there it was. A rusted diving cylinder, marked with the same serpentine anchor emblem from the badge. Recent scratches along the metal showed it had been used. Whoever left the package at Hudson's door last night had also been here. They were watching him, warning him. He took out his flashlights, scanning the shoreline. Through the sheets of rain, he saw a small boat tied loosely to a dock post, engine humming low. It was too small for the waves, yet someone was in it, a shadow hunched over the wheel, face hidden beneath a hood. Hudson's gut clenched. Without hesitation, he climbed aboard, Rex jumping in after him. The figure didn't move, didn't run. Hudson approached carefully, one hand resting near his holster. When the stranger finally looked up, Hudson froze. It was May Carter. Her face was pale, eyes red from crying, but her voice was steady. "I told you to stop, detective," she said over the roar of the wind. "You don't know what you're about to bring up." Hudson's voice was calm but firm. "You knew your father's ship didn't sink by accident. You knew he was alive. May looked out to the dark water, her jaw trembling. Alive isn't the same as living, she whispered. He came back years ago, but the man who returned wasn't my father. The sea took something from him. He told me they found something down there, something that wasn't supposed to exist. They swore to never speak of it again. But when he started talking, the others made sure he stopped. The truth hit Hudson like a punch. The crew had silenced one of their own, and now, one by one, they were being silenced in return. May reached into her coat and pulled out a waterproof case, handing it to Hudson. Inside were photos, old, grainy shots of the Fortitude underwater, perfectly preserved. The ship wasn't torn apart. It had been anchored deliberately to the ocean floor, and around it were strange metal containers, stamped with military insignias that didn't belong to Canada. Experimental devices, war remnants. They found these, May said. They thought they could sell them, but when they opened one, she stopped, shaking her head. My father said it was like the sea came alive. People died. The government sealed it off, but the truth was too messy, too shameful. They blamed the storm instead. Hudson stared at the photos, his mind spinning. This wasn't just a crime, it was a cover-up that spanned decades. The death on the dock wasn't random. It was the last echo of a promise that had drowned long ago. The storm worsened, waves crashing higher against the pier. May started the engine, shouting over the thunder. I'm going back out there. I'm going to end it before anyone else gets hurt. Hudson grabbed her arm. You'll never make it in this weather. She looked at him, tears mixing with rain. Then let the sea take me too. It's been waiting long enough. Before he could stop her, she pushed away from the dock, the boat lurching into the open water. Hudson yelled after her, but his voice was swallowed by the wind. Rex barked frantically, watching the small boat vanish into the fog. Hours later, when the storm finally eased, the Coast Guard found the boat empty, drifting near the drop. No sign of May. No sign of her father's remains. Only the same endless waves. Hudson filed his final report the next day. The official story said May Carter was lost at sea during a rescue attempt, but on the back of the report, Hudson wrote 3 words that no one else would ever see. Fortitude never ended. He stood once more at the pier, Rex by his side. The ocean looked calm again, as if nothing had ever happened. The town would move on. People would go back to their quiet lives. But Hudson knew the truth now. The sea doesn't forget, and neither does Newfoundland. Every wave carries a memory. Every storm a reckoning. As he turned to leave, Rex paused, staring at the horizon. For a moment, Hudson thought he saw something glimmer beneath the surface, a flash of light, or maybe a reflection. Then it was gone, swallowed by the deep. Hudson whispered under his breath, Fortitude. It no longer sounded like a name, but a vow. And as the screen fades to black, the sea keeps its secret, restless, alive, eternal.